What is going on, Laker fans? Thank you very much for tuning in. Lakers, Clippers later tonight. Previewing this game. This is Lakers Talk Daily, Monday through Friday. We're doing this here on YouTube, on ESPN LA's YouTube page. Please subscribe to the channel. It takes a couple seconds. Just hit that subscribe button right there, and we'll continue to do this Monday through Friday. Okay, so I just want to preview the game today. That's just simple as that. Lakers sitting at 2-8 on the season. Clippers sitting at 6-5. Both teams a little bit of a surprise here. You know, I did not think, even if I thought the Lakers were going to struggle through their first 10 games, I didn't think they'd be 2-8. I didn't think they would lose 8 of their first 10 games. And it's the way they're losing, too. You know, obviously, they already got one loss to the Clippers. They were in position to win that game. That was the second game of the season. But the way the Utah Jazz just did them dirty, the way the Cleveland Cavaliers outscored them by 20 in the second half, probably, you know, very fortunate to have that one win against the Pelicans when they should have lost that game. They got lucky that the Pelicans missed a couple free throws when they're up 3, and then, you know, obviously a couple perfect plays for the Lakers to get to overtime. They end up winning that game. But the 2-8 start, obviously very, very frustrating for all Laker fans. The Clippers, that's a little more interesting to me. 6-5. If you go look at the standings right now, you know, Lakers have the second worst record in the Western Conference. They're 2-8. The Rockets are 2-9. So it's not much cushion there. Clippers 6-5. So they're kind of they went through an interesting little run here. I want to kind of point out some of their wins and some of their losses. They started out the season winning their first 2 games. We know Kawhi Leonard is still dealing with health issues, and to be honest, Laker fans, I got no idea, you know, if he'll be able to come back at this point this year and be a consistent player for them where he's going to give them 30 minutes a game. We'll get into Kawhi in just a second. So they win their first 2 games of the season. Then they lose. This is the Clippers. They lose to the Suns. They lose 2 to the Thunder. They lose to the Pelicans. Then they go on a 3-game winning streak. They've had a pretty cake schedule so far. They've played the Thunder twice. They've played the Rockets twice. They've played the Spurs. Obviously, the Lakers and the Kings, who are struggling. So they've had a pretty cake schedule so far, and they find themselves at 6-5 on the season. I thought, you know, I kind of fall into this trap with the Clippers. They got a lot of players on their team. They got a lot of, you know, you go look at the names on that roster and you're like, wow, there's a lot of good role players on this team. There's a lot of dudes that you think, you know, will contribute for the Clippers. They might be the deepest team in the NBA. I mean, I'll just go down the list here. Look at all these names. And I know names don't win championships, but coming into the season, this was my thought process on the Clippers. You got Kawhi, you got PG, obviously, right? So you got some star power there. Marcus Morris, John Wall, Norman Powell, Zubats, Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, Terrence Mann, Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum, Amir Coffey, who we got a chance to watch a little bit last year. They got so many players. You know, if the Lakers, if their issue is they don't have depth, they don't have enough role players, that is not the issue for the Los Angeles Clippers. So I'm a little surprised that they got off to as rough of a start as they have. Tonight it's an interesting game for the Lakers. They're going to start a 10-game stretch here where, in my opinion, this is going to determine the Lakers season. If you go 3-7 on these next 10 games, and you got a lot of winnable games on the schedule, and again, this is the start of a 10-game. You're going to close out the month of November with 10 games, and you'll be about 25% through the season by the time November's done. If you finish out the month of November 3-7, just going to give you an example here. They got the Clippers home against the Kings, Brooklyn, Detroit, and San Antonio, all winnable games. You're at Phoenix, okay, tough one. 2 at San Antonio. I actually think those are going to be tough games because the Lakers are the Lakers and the Spurs are playing 500 basketball. And then you close out the month home against the Pacers, home against the Blazers. If you finish out 3-7, you're 5-15. In my opinion, that's probably a wrap on the season. You're only going to get worse. December's schedule is brutal. And maybe the Lakers then just don't make a trade simply because nothing's going to be there to help them. And even if they do get some help, all right, you don't have a good enough team that even if you get a little bit of help, it's going to change much. So why are you going to give up those future draft picks to really do nothing different for the remainder of the season? That's number one. The other side of it is if you take advantage of these next 10 games and you go 7-3, or you go 6-4, and you're closer now to 500, and you think actually the team is starting to play better basketball, then maybe they do go make a trade. I'm not saying you got to go get rid of both of those draft picks, but maybe you just try to improve the roster and see if you can just be in the mix there in that Western Conference. But it starts tonight against the Clippers, and Clippers are a very beatable team. Let's not think that the Clippers coming into the season, they're not that team. They are a team that is beatable. I think they're definitely still trying to figure out what their strengths and their weaknesses are. They're trying to figure out, all right, Kawhi's not in the lineup. Is it just PG time all the time? And I don't think that's a good strategy. I think, what the Clippers do have is they have depth. So if I'm them, I'm spreading that love around. And almost the way like the Utah Jazz beat the Lakers on these last couple of nights, you never knew who was going to attack. You had 7 guys scoring double figures. So it's not an easy one tonight. And I know it sounds ridiculous to say these are must-win games, but I really do think these next 10 games are going to determine the Lakers' season. So Lakers, Clippers, you guys got thoughts on this game? Please comment below. If you think the Lakers are in some serious trouble, you can feel free to comment as well. But I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. I'll be back, what's tomorrow? Thursday. I'll be back tomorrow doing a little kind of a recap of this game, and then also starting to preview the Lakers and the Kings coming up on Friday. So I appreciate you guys tuning in, Laker fans. Have a good rest of your day. Lakers, Clippers.